Welcome to our kitchen. Today we prepare medieval torta de farro, a pie with farro from Anonimo Veneziano's Libro di Cucina, written in the 14th century. We start with ingredients. We need wheat flour, cheese, eggs, goat's milk, cured pork jowl, and farro. We mince the pork jowl and cheese. We use the fresh caciotta. Then we mix them with the farro already cooked in salted water, the eggs and a little milk. You may need to add a pinch or two of salt if the cheese and the pork jowl you use are not too salty. We used 150 grams of farro and pork jowl, 200 grams of cheese and 2 eggs for the filling, with 350 grams of flour for the dough. The original recipe is for a very big pie and calls for 660 grams of farro and cured pork fatback, 6 wheels of cheese and 10 eggs. You can change the proportions of the ingredients according to your taste. We also substituted pork jowl for pork fatback. Anonimo Veneziano recommends either goat's milk or sheep's milk, but you can also use cow's milk. We need a simple dough made with wheat flour, water and salt. Then we roll a sheet of pasta not too thin and wider than the baking pan. Torta is a typical medieval Italian pie, with crusts as thin as lasagna. The crusts are usually two, but there are recipes with only the bottom crust or with many layers. In Anonimo Veneziano's cookbook, the dough for torte is prepared with only flour and water or with the addition of other ingredients, such as spices, saffron and herb juice. There are several recipes for torte in the cookbooks, with different types of fillings, including meat, vegetables, herbs, seafood, and even legumes and cereals. For example, in Anonimo Veneziano's cookbook, we find torte with onions, shallots, shrimps, herbs, fish, mushrooms, elderflowers, beans, fava beans, garlic, and others. You'll find some videos with torta recipes in the description below. We grease the baking pan with lard, lay the bottom crust and arrange the filling. Another version of a torta di farro appears in Maestro Martino's Libro de Arte Culinaria, written in the 15th century, where the farro is cooked in fatty broth and mixed with both fresh and aged cheese, in addition to well-cooked pork belly or veal udder, spices, sugar and saffron. Unlike Anonimo Veneziano's recipe, the torta is cooked with only the bottom crust. On top, Maestro Martino recommends putting some dried and thick lasagna, according to a use that we already found in the preparation of ancient Roman patina quotidiana, a dish that can be considered the ancestor of lasagna. The same recipe from the Libro de Arte Culinaria can be used to prepare the chestnut torta, where chestnuts replace farro in the filling. Another cereal used to make a torta is rice. We roll a second sheet of pasta, thinner and a bit smaller than the bottom crust. Then we lay the upper crust, remove the excess dough, and close the pie. We cooked the pie in the oven for about half an hour. The cooking time depends on the thickness of the crusts and the amount of filling. To learn more about pies in history, check out our book, Early Italian Recipes, Cereals, Bread, Pasta and Pies. The second volume in a series on historical cooking, from the Antiquity to the end of the Renaissance, with the first book being dedicated to vegetables, fruit, herbs and flowers. The translations of Anonimo Veneziano's Libro di Cucina and Maestro Martino's Libro de Arte Culinaria are available on our Patreon page, along with several other translations of ancient and medieval sources and articles about historical food. To learn more about late medieval cuisine, read our books Registrum Cuquinea Medieval Cookbook and Anonimo Toscano Medieval Tuscan Recipes. You will find a list of our books on historical food in the description below, along with links to buy us a beer and purchase our merchandise. This torta was very easy to make and delicious, with the flavors of pork jowl and cheese enhanced by the sweetness of farro. Unlike most medieval dishes, which are usually loaded with spices, its flavor is simple, and it would be perfect as part of a rustic Italian meal, accompanied by dishes such as a pork and leek stew or kohlrabi stew. You'll find the links in the description below. If you're interested in ancient foods and flavors, subscribe our channel and consider supporting us on Patreon.